penultimate response is educate and reject. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. You call somebody anti-white, they say, well, anti-white is used a lot by that Jason Kuna and blah, blah, blah. And you just want to accomplish XYZ for white people and harm all the non-white people. And so therefore I reject it. Again, what have they just revealed? They've just revealed that they're anti-white, that their doctrine is anti-whiteism. Just as before, if it's one-on-one, walk away. Don't waste another breath. If there is or will be an audience, use the opportunity to point out that they wouldn't deconstruct any non-white groups' objections to the infliction of harm on them. That, in fact, they're cowards for not doing the same to the non-white groups that they do to you. Point out that they are that when they reject something that they just defined as existing, that they're being imbecilic. And remember, all of this is to get them, this person, this interlocutor, to get them to admit to things that are anti-white in outcome. You're endeavoring to get them to admit to things that are anti-white in outcome. All right, so, well, we need to have a merit-based immigration system that focuses on the third world because of XYZ. Well, what's the outcome there for the white population? That we import a bunch of a new leadership class, that we import a bunch of non-whites that are on the right side of their bell curve. Their children won't be, but they are. And so we import them, and then our civilization changes, and then this anti-white discrimination expands. Get them to admit to those things for the future audiences, and you'll win. Okay, and finally, the final response we have here. Actually, that was the 4 responses. So denial, embrace, sarcasm, reject, and educate. And then I did want to mention that back to what I was saying earlier, that this really is a battle of will. So, and to say that a lot of people are afraid to say that something is anti-white because of this moral structure. So I'm going to give you all homework to do. The only way to build a muscle, the only way to build a muscle is to use it. Today, if you have not used anti-white before and anti-whiteism before, I want you today or tomorrow to get onto a chat somewhere, get onto a thread somewhere, find somebody who says something anti-white, and then respond with, that's anti-white, that's anti-whiteism. If you've never done it before, do it today, do it tomorrow, do it the next day, get into the habit. If you have a family member who's intransigent or is neutral or is potentially positive, and you've never used anti-white before, I want you to use it today or tomorrow, depending where you are on the world. I want you to, when you're both sitting in front of that television or you're both looking through that magazine and you see that advert or that advertisement that has something anti-white in it, I want you to say, wow, that's anti-white. You know what? And for those of you who are brave, and I want you all to come back to me the next time we have this discussion, the next time we do another Going Free episode, I want you all to come back to me, and I want you to tell me about these episodes. How did they go? How empowered did you feel as a consequence? I want to hear your testimony about these things. For those who are really brave, for those of you who are really brave, you're going to be in an airport in the next couple days. You're going to be at a Subway restaurant. You're going to be in a doctor's office in the next couple days. And there are going to be other people in the room. And there are going to be magazines laid out. There might be a television on the wall. And there's going to be an anti-white ad. There's going to be an anti-white TV show. There's going to be a trailer for an anti-white movie. And I want you to say out loud, in that office, in that terminal, out loud, wow, That is really anti-white. Let everyone hear you there. You're not going to be in an environment where you're going to be physically attacked. Don't go to the local Antifa meeting and at the Antifa bar where they're all hyped up on drugs and drunk and whatever else is going on, and try this out. Do this at your doctor's office. Do this at the bus terminal. Do this at the airport. Say out loud, that's really anti-white. Let everybody know that there is a changing current in our society. Make this a weekly event if you haven't already. I do it every single time, everywhere I go. If I see anything anti-white, I will say out loud. I have never had anyone, now granted, I'm physically fit and etc., but I've never had anyone say to me, and of course, even though I'm physically fit, a woman could insult me if she wanted to. I've never had that happen. I've never had a doctor's office say, well, we're not going to serve you because you just said something was anti-white. You're not going to get treatment here. Instead, you know what I get? Does anybody know what I get? Maybe 70+% of the time. I get people who nod their heads 70% of the time. I get people who, give the shrug the shoulders and kind of like, yeah, kind of a face. That's true. That really is anti-white. That's what I get when I say this. And that's what you're going to get. The worst that's going to happen is that people will just ignore you. That's the worst that's going to happen. People will just look up and look down. Sometimes you might see, and this is also really sad to see, I see this as well in the faces of people when I do this, whites, our brothers and sisters, is abject fear, the fear of a child I see on their faces. When I say, man, that's anti-white, they immediately, the mirror neurons in their brains reflect what I've said. They think of themselves doing the same thing in that environment. And then the fear of the child comes over their face because they've had a lifetime of being browbeaten for being white and being told how evil it is to be white and to care about white people, how awful that is, how all of the people who care about whites are hideous and stupid and worthy of being dehumanized, worthy of being fired from their jobs and not being able to feed themselves and their children. That is what you'll see on some of their faces. And that induces a sadness of me that is immeasurable, because that is a psychologically traumatized people. Our brothers and sisters, unable to escape this anti-white narrative, have been turned into these quivering, sniveling, cowardly, frightened children